Hello and welcome. I am so delighted that you are taking this deeper dive and exploring with me today the mindful genogram. So welcome, welcome, welcome from wherever you are, whatever time zone you might find yourself in. And join me, Dr. Carol Penn, triply board certified in family medicine, obesity medicine, and osteopathic manipulative medicine, three-time best-selling authors. So proud of my book baby and my journal, Meditation in a Time of Madness. Both of these items offer you an opportunity to build resilience, to build self-regulation, and go on an inner journey. And I'm also a wife, a mother, a sister, daughter, parent, all those many complex roles that we all play on our way to having an optimized life, a life where we're living on purpose with great intention. So let's go ahead and begin to learn, shall we? I'm going to share my screen. All right, you should be seeing right now the mindful genogram, the examination of ancestral bias, because we're going to look at this from the viewpoint of our ancestors. Let's take a look and see what some of these learning objectives may be. So we want to recognize the importance of the genogram as a mind-body medicine modality. We want to be able to practice creating and sharing a genogram as a tool for self-awareness and self-expression. 3, we use one's personal and family history as a guide to present understanding and decision-making. 4, recall the relevance of the biological underpinnings of mind-body medicine to the topic of genograms. 5, consider the usefulness of integrating other mind-body skills with the use of the genogram. And finally, number 6, Monday morning takeaways, be able to apply the genograms as part of the patient history and integrate the genogram into clinical decision making. So I have nothing to disclose. And who am I? Who is this Dr. Carol Penn? Well, I'll let you take a look at that. I'm really proud of the doctor that I am becoming, the leader that I am becoming, walking with you on this journey, creating beloved community, living in and creating the world and being the change that we want to see in the world. So a little bit more about me. All right, let us begin with a land acknowledgement. And this is adapted from Overcoming Racism Annual Conference. This is so important that as we begin to create the beloved community, create a better world in our little immediate, small and individual worlds, in our communities, in our institutions, and eventually on the policy level, that we also speak truth to power. And we remember those whom have gone before us. And we remember the people whose land, in many cases, this actually still belongs to. We would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Lenai Lenape peoples and pay our respect to elders, both past and present. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hopes of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacements, migration, and settlements that bring us here today. And please join us in uncovering the truths. So take a moment and think about, who are the people upon whose land you are seeking to grow, to prosper, to live abundantly. And if you're not sure, the information is available. I invite you to look it up. There is such a thing, I believe, beloveds, as karmic retribution. And for us to fully prosper, let us acknowledge that at least there was a people here, and in many cases is still here, so that their spirits can join with us in bringing about the world that we want the world to be. All right, so mindfulness. We are going to engage in this discussion today and in this learning today with mindfulness as we get ready to approach our genograms. John Kabat-Zinn has defined mindfulness meditation as the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. That could be a test question, so watch out for that. John Kabat-Zinn has defined mindfulness meditation as the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. I'll remind you of another definition. That's the definition of meditation. Meditation, to be in a state of relaxed awareness. So we put together our mindfulness to our meditation so that we are paying attention on purpose in the present moment. So your body is present. Is your mind? Is your mind? Mindful breathing. This is the simplest and fastest way to regulate the autonomic nervous system and bring it back into balance when we have been stressed and we want to focus on our breath. Soft belly breathing. Now, we have done this in large group. I ask you to take a moment right now. Take a nice deep cleansing breath in, exhale. Take a second deep cleansing breath in, exhale, and take a third deep cleansing breath in. If you'd like, close your eyes. And as you breathe in and imagine the word soft. As you breathe out and imagine the word belly. So we breathe soft belly, soft belly, soft belly. Doing so at your own rate, rhythm, and timing, bringing our autonomic nervous system back into balance, because we're going to need that balance as we go further into this activity. And by the way, right now, before I forget, I would suggest you go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to get some paper. It could be 8.5 by 11 or larger, because you're going to need this for the drawing of your genogram. And go ahead perhaps to get a marker, something that can show up on your genogram. All right? Beautiful. And so let's take a look also at bias, because as we draw the genogram, I'm going to ask you to draw it in a particular way. So I want to remind us of bias. Implicit biases are associations made by individuals in the unconscious state of mind. So you're not aware of your biased association. And I think that's a lot of what we see in the workplace when we're working with people that are different from who we are. We might feel some kind of way. And again, but we're not really aware that what we're feeling is a bias based on a perceived difference. Implicit racial bias can cause individuals to unknowingly act in discriminatory ways. The individual is not overtly racist, but their perceptions have been shaped by experiences. And then finally, no one is immune from having unconscious thoughts and associations. Becoming aware of implicit racial bias creates an avenue for addressing the issue. So think about it. Think about, that person that's different from you, perhaps from a different culture. Think about conversations that you've had, and that feeling some kind of way, or, looking at, oh, that's strange, that's odd, not understanding it. That's a reminder that we all carry these implicit biases. Now let's take a look at another influence on our genograms, and that's epigenetics. It was once thought that our genetic code determined our psychophysiological path for life. It has become clear that a large variety of factors influence how our genes are expressed or whether they are on or off. This is very important in the new medicine, isn't it? The factors that influence gene expression are called transcription factors. The study of epigenetics, prefix, epi above, is the study of the external factors that influence our genetic activity. So epigenetics and historical trauma. Are you from a people that has experienced historical trauma? So epigenetics is the study of external factors that influence the expression of genes. And if you take a look at this slide, we can see how early experiences alter gene expression and shape development. So from number one, the external experiences, stress, nutrition, toxins, spark signals between neurons. Number two, these neural signals launch production of gene regulatory proteins inside the cell. Three, gene regulatory proteins attract or repel enzymes that add or remove epigenetic markers. Four, epigenetic markers control where and how much protein is made by a gene, effectively turning a gene on or off, thereby shaping how brains and bodies develop. So this is what we want to be aware of as individuals, and as many of us are working in the field of medicine, working in the field of health and wellness. So understanding these epigenetics and how, what did you get from mom, dad, from our grandparents, from those aunts and uncles and cousins, stretching all the way back, and what do we have control over? And we're learning that we have control over much more than we thought, because we can also influence the turning on or off of our genes. And so we have that nurture versus nature, and we're learning that nature is the baseline, but more and more nurture has the influence. Looking at adverse childhood experiences. So, coming in and looking and reflecting at your own life. So this landmark study really brought many, many things to light, that we know that abuse, physical, emotional, sexual, neglect, physical and emotional, household dysfunction, mental illness, mother treated violently, divorce, incarcerated relatives, substance abuse, all has an impact on how we live, breathe, and have our being. And some of this might show up in your genogram as you explore through the generations, right down to yourself. So what is a mindful genogram? So a genogram is a tool that maps and tracks messages from our families. Earliest research done back in 1985. The genogram is a drawing of your family of origin, biological if known, and can include chosen family and non-biological family, including pets. The genogram shines a light on patterns, offering opportunities to change those patterns. And that's the Important piece, right? We will draw them together mindfully using the skills we have shared as we construct them. So beautiful, beautiful. So here's your basic genogram. Go ahead and screenshot that. Screenshot that. Right? Screenshot that. Beautiful. And you can see it is 3 generations, with the bottom generation being you. And then we have second generation, mother and father. And then we have third generation. So you want to minimally make it a 3-generation genogram. Or I like to add a 4th one because I have children. So my offspring, my descendants. All right. So you can come back to this, or you can screenshot this. And here's some essential symbols. And you can also create symbols that have meaning for you. So typically male and female are represented by a square for a male and a circle for a female. But you can see over here, I've done a star and a triangle. You can make that as your symbol. Death, typically with an X through the square or the circle or whatever your symbol is. For me, I like to put a heart there. I believe that life is everlasting. And with the recent transitions in my family, I just haven't felt that X. So you can see as we're moving down here, marriage with children, oldest begins on the left, third child is adopted, last are fraternal twins. And then we have going down, pregnant, stillbirth, induced abortion, spontaneous abortion. You can also see how marriage is linked with a solid line, living together linked with a dotted line, separated, 1 line through, divorce, 2 lines through, and then remarried, that continuous line. Double lines can represent close relationships. Big dashes can represent distant. That little perpendicular with the gap in between can represent cut off, and then that jagged line, conflicted relationships. And I have to give credit to the Center for Mind-Body Medicine, where so many of my colleagues, friends, and mentors are. And this is a template that we use when we're working with people to draw their mindful genograms. And so get out your marker and get out your pen and paper, because we're going to get ready to draw our mindful genograms. Now, I'm going to show you the next 2 slides, and then I'm going to ask you to pause the slide for about 15 minutes while you draw your mindful genogram. So we're going to mindfully draw, but screenshot this. Here are some questions for you. What are the messages you were given about race, gender, and privilege? So see if you, after you draw your mindful genogram, you can answer that question. Are those messages found in your genogram? And can the pattern be changed? So let's go back 1 slide, and you are going to mindfully draw your genogram. All right. So I'm going to stop the share while you pause, and we do that. I'm actually going to pause our recording. All right. So how are you guys doing so far? So I'm just checking in. Mine's looking kind of complicated here. I don't know if you can see that, but basically I drew the backdrop of the globe, because I'm becoming more and more aware of the influences that have been passed down to me historically and epigenetically. I did include down at the bottom the 4th generation. So my biological son and my stepson, Dima. Then I have me up here, and then my now husband, who's not my first husband. So those of you that have gone through divorces, you may or may not find yourself depicting that. But then here, my husband's parents were divorced, so I have them up here in this generation. And then I have my parents who were married until death did they part after 57, 58 years of marriage. So I just wanted to check in with you. So you see your genogram can look a lot of different ways and reflect a lot of different themes. I think it's better closer. So one of the themes there, the hearts represent love, the angels represent the ancestors. So I don't want you to copy mine, but I just wanted you to get an idea. Now I'm going to go back to sharing my screen while you continue to work on your genograms. All right, share screen. Here we go. All right, so you've been mindfully and hopefully they're finished. I want you to tuck these away because when we meet again in our live group, you are going to be sharing your genogram. So let's continue on our journey, shall we? So again, these are the questions that we are looking to ask with our genograms. And whenever we think about our family situation, we might be feeling some kind of way. It might bring up some tensions. So I want you to ask yourself now, are you noticing any tenseness in your body, any soreness, any stiffness? And maybe even if you aren't, because we're going to do a little bit of mindful movement now, contemplative movement. And that is going to be important throughout your life as you settle yourself so you can literally brush something off and then move on. So you could do this in a seated position. You could do it standing. I'm going to do it seated. So I want you to extend your right arm. That represents the past. Extend your left arm. That represents the future. Bring the hands together and then float the hands back to your heart. This bringing of the hands together brings us into the present moment. The past is over, the future not yet arrived. Where are we? Here. Where do we have our power? Where can we make change? We could do it right here from our center. Let's do that again. Extend that right. The past, it's over. The future hasn't gotten here. Into the center, into the heart, where we can make the change. The change happens in the present moment. Go ahead, interlace your thumbs, make some butterfly wings, and float those butterfly wings right to your chest, right below your collarbone. And here we're going to begin doing an alternate press, an alternate press. Beautiful. If you're processing something, if you're thinking about something, you do this quickly. If you're settling, if you're soothing yourself, you do it at a slower pace. And also vary the pressure. Or maybe you just want to stay there for a while in little circles, little circles. Beautiful. That is feeling relaxing to me. Beautiful. Circling the head first in one direction. Then you can keep the circles going right there. At the end of your fingertips, do so. And then reverse, circle the head. and in the other direction. Beautiful. Take a nice deep cleansing breath in. Mm. Exhaling. Now, literally bring the hands up, right hand up to the left shoulder, and gently squeeze. Maybe there's some knots there. Let that feel good. Now, brush down. Whatever is bothering you, literally brush it off. Clear that energetic field. Clear your electromagnetic field. Now, let's switch. Go to the other side. Ooh, let that feel good. Let that feel good. And brush. Beautiful. Hands right here in the belly. Circle in one direction. Breathe. Circle in the other direction. That's right. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Look up. Look down and see and notice. Look over the right shoulder. See and notice. Look over your left shoulder. See and notice. Breathe and twist right there in your chair. Nice spinal twist. Looking behind you, see and notice. Come to the other way. Breathe, see, and notice. And then come back to the front. You're here in your present moment. Lean back slightly and just maybe feel that little slight tug of resistance. And just imagine that these are your ancestors holding you, lifting you. Yeah, supporting you. Beautiful, beautiful. And bring yourselves back, forward, sitting evenly on your sitting bones and arrive fully and completely in this present moment. Beautiful, beautiful. Now I want you to take a moment and I want you to share your genogram with someone. Pick someone, doesn't matter who, pick someone and tell them your story. And what we do, we invite respect here, deep listening. I'm going to ask the person to listen to you without interrupting. And if you're doing this with several people, one at a time, and that you keep it confidential. Maya Angelou has said there's nothing more painful than the untold story. This is a time for you to tell your story, and this is a time for you to be healed, to be brought into being. If you can share your story with a listener, someone who will agree to listen deeply and respectfully, and we'll have an opportunity to do that when we meet in our large group. And after engaging in an exercise like this, an activity like this, it's so important for you, or if you're sharing it with family members or clients and patients, to remember self-compassion. And I'd like you to repeat these phrases to yourself as I say them out loud. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be kind and patient with myself. May I hold my joys and sorrows with an open heart. May I love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. So, for some resources, please email me with your questions. Be sure to get a hold of my book, Meditation in a Time of Madness. So the book was written and designed to be used with families. It's a guidebook for talented teens, tweens, their parents, and guardians who need to thrive. And in here, you're going to find all kind of suggestions for learning how to meditate together, for learning how to move together, for learning how to have better nutrition and better sleep. Again, skills of resiliency, build those muscles, and self-regulation. And then also my journal. So living, loving, and leading when it matters most. It's a 90-day journal, and reflective writing is so important. It's up there with meditation in terms of what it can do for our neurobiology, our physiology, and our epigenetics. Also, my colleague in this, partner in crime, Kathy Farrer, please feel free to reach out to her. That's another resource for you. We are both consultants and faculty for the Center for Mind Body Medicine. Another fabulous resource. Go ahead, look us up. Lots of free resources there on meditation, for example. And a powerful book from my friend, mentor, founder of the Center for Mind Body Medicine, his book, The Transformation. So listen, you all, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. But before that, couple more resources. You can look up the Dutch famine studies about DNA methylation as a mediator of the association between prenatal adversity and risk factors for metabolic disease in adulthood. And also take a look at adverse childhood experiences study if you haven't done that. And as always, always, my heartfelt appreciation and acknowledgement to the entire Medical Mogul Academy community and Dr. Dre Birch, and also my gratitude to my family, to the omnipresence in my life, one love, and to my husband and business partner, Mr. DM Jones, Executive Director of Murray Grove Association, founder of All One Consulting LLC, and co-founder and past Executive Director of VONA, one of our nation's top residential writing programs, and the only one specifically designed for persons of color. I extend gratitude to my parents, grandparents, and the ancestors, our sons, Keita Erskine and Dima Jones, our glorious blended family, and my fabulous patients and clients whose love, courage, and strengths lift me to uncharted heights in the boundless fields of all possibilities. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you've enjoyed this CME lecture, that it's been engaging for you. You've actively participated, and I look forward to seeing you at the next talk.